Hey guys, Jamie here with Adventure Thrills and Life, coming to you with a new video. Six Flags Now or Never, the next big adventure awaits. Investor Relations Recap. So, as you see on the screen, and as I just mentioned, Six Flags had their investor relations. So after taking days to recap what the investor relations covered and just to break it down on paper for myself to make a good video, I decided to start here. Uh, Six Flags' biggest thing in this whole outcome is to lower debt and focus on guest satisfaction, attracting new guests, uh, adding new rides in their top 15 parks that we'll cover here in a minute of what the possible top 15 parks is. And one of the parks that was mentioned quite a bit. So the goal of Six Flags, like any other company, is smart investments, wanting people to advance purchase products like season passes, of course, to optimize attendance of their parks, have high quality in park offerings, and embrace the age that we live in today, even more the technological age. So Six Flags today is the number one regional amusement park operator in North America. Six Flags controls 42 parks and 9 hotels/resorts properties in 31 markets. 50 million guests entertained in 2024 on a combined basis, and 250 million people live within 100 miles of a Six Flag or Legacy Cedar Fair park. So, good deal. A lot of uh, people's attention that they can capture and a lot of attendance to gain. That's actually key here with this first point to start off. Six Flags by 2028 wants to recapture 10 million missed visits that they have missed since COVID. So in 2019, they had a big attendance between both parks before the merger, and now after COVID, even in 2024 and 5, the attendance has dropped a lot. So as you see on this chart from the investor relations call, 2019 there was a 61 million combined attendance, and that dramatically fell in 22 and 23. Along with 2024, they lost 10 million to 11 million guest visits in 2024 from 2019. So Six Flags' big goal by 2028 is to recapture that 10 to 11 million missed visits to get back to that number. Now, the plan that it sounds like was hounded to get back to that number is to focus on the top 15 parks. Interesting thing was that the top 15 parks, the Six Flags over Georgia, was one of them, is what it sounded like. They referenced getting Six Flags over Georgia to Carowinds type numbers on attendance. At that possible time, Six Flags over Georgia would then be a very, very stout park, is what it sounded like. Now, of course, that goes more into that there's the top 15 Six Flags parks. A key focus to get all top 15 parks, which pulls approximately, I believe, in the investors' call, it was 80% of Six Flags earnings. So these top 15 parks carries 80% of what Six Flags makes every year. And like I said, it sounded like Six Flags over Georgia is in the back half of that top 15. So how do you get the parks and to keep generating that money? How do you recapture 10 million lost visits and attendance? Well, specifically, you start with your capex, and that's what they pointed out was their capex. Now, the chart for 2026, 2027, 2028 showed the capex being 475 to 500 million dollars. Uh, Again, they said the top 15 parks. They hinted that the top 15 parks would get around 13 to 15 million dollars each, with a few select parks getting that 25 to 28 million dollars for the new hit roller coaster, because I believe it was, they pointed out a $10 million roller coaster with the construction crew to put it together and assemble it uh, now costs around 27 because it's not the cost of the roller coaster going up, it's the cost of the workers to put it together has went up since then. And their goal is to upgrade each park with new attractions, it sounds like. Not only that, they want to renovate food venues. Key point in the investor relations call was that they plan on touching 10 food venues. Didn't say which parks would get it, uh, but 10 food renovated venues each year for, I believe, a 5 year period of time, which I believe is a great plan. They also plan to do upgrades in an area of each park. So whenever they go to renovate a food area, uh, it's not going to only be food renovations. It's not going to only be new attraction coming in. It's going to be like an overhaul of that specific area to make it what Six Flags as corporate holds as their expectations now, which seems to trend more to that Cedar Fair side of things than what the Legacy 6 used to look at. Uh, Another key thing was for the Legacy 6 parks during this was that the Legacy 6 parks was missing a lot of family friendly rides due to the amount of the roller coasters that had been installed from a specific period of time. I believe it was 2015 to 2019 or 2010 to 2019 that was listed in the investor relations call exactly that the Legacy 6 group had poured into roller coaster, roller coaster, roller coaster. So whenever they had made that comment, they also followed it. Uh, Six Flags Fiesta Texas was the closest Six Legacy Park that was close to what they expected family friendly as a Cedar Fair park would be with rides. So that gives me a big, big, big hint that a lot of the upgrades coming to the Legacy 6 parks are going to be minimal roller coaster, family friendly roller coaster, family friendly flat ride, and possible dark rides coming to the Legacy Six Flags parks. Now, it sounds like it's going to be a mix on the Cedar Fair parks. They didn't really, comment too much. They only made that comment toward the Legacy 6 parks. Another thing is currently here in 2025, you see a capex of 475 to 500 million also, and the split between Cedar Fair parks and Legacy 6 parks with that capex is 60-40. 60% of that capex is going to Cedar Fair parks and 40% is going to Legacy Six Flags. Now, from what they said in their investor relations call, if nothing changes in 2026, that number will be inverted. The Legacy 6 parks will get 60% of the capex. The Legacy Cedar Fair parks 40% of the capex. It's the biggest emphasis, though, on the Legacy 6 parks is bringing more family-friendly rides to the portfolio of those parks. Makes sense. My home park, Six Flags Over Georgia, which seems to be mentioned in the top 15 that they referred to, even though they would pretty much not confirm a park in that top 15. That Six Flags Over Georgia and that land that we all know of, if you're familiar with Six Flags Over Georgia with the go-kart track going, like we covered in our last Six Flags Now or Never video, it's probably going to be a lot of flat rides coming to that little area. And more than likely, some of those will come from Six Flags America. They really didn't say much. Now, that attendance number that they did give of the 10 million to 11 million guests that they're trying to recapture or visits that they're trying to recapture, that was 100% with Six Flags America out of the equation and Six Flags Great America in California out of the equation. Because, as we all know, Six Flags Great America in California, the land was sold before the merger, and that the lease is up very soon on that land. Uh, in that investors relations call, did not seem like the new Six Flags Corporation has any interest, unless numbers look good, of renewing that lease for that park. And we all know that sadly after this season, Six Flags America will be closing. So all these numbers that was covered in this investor relations call was numbers excluding those two parks. Now their key thing was building a stronger balance sheet with debt reduction. That's very, on the corporate side of things, the lower your balance sheet, the more money that you can target with net total leverage and things of that nature following the merger. Their biggest goals is capturing the 180 million in cost savings, the flatten their cost curve, optimizing what cash that they have free flowing. Of course, in part guest spending, how to make us guests spend more money in the park. And want to spend more money in the park. That means you gotta have the rides there. You gotta have the kind of like this year, for instance, a lot more character meetings are going on with the Looney Tunes characters. So you might be more inclined to purchase more Looney Tunes gear from Six Flags, leveraging the demand of driving emissions prices. What that basically is they're wanting to turn more guests that are single day tickets to annual pass, season ticket passes. Uh, so they have more guaranteed money coming from you, because you know if you do plan to do the parks, the silver pass is the way to go, more than one time a year. So that is definitely one of their key things, is making a season pass, annual pass, whatever you like to call it, uh, happen. You know, they want to make that happen. From, I guess, instead of buying a single day ticket, you buy season and annual pass, because those guests typically come back more than one time, so they're gonna have more money, and they guaranteed money off of a season pass or annual pass holder if you're not able to even come to the park. Uh, a big thing that they did mention, going back to the capex, and I don't know why I skipped over this when we was at that point, was that on the capex of the other 25 parks, it sounded like those parks are gonna get, depending on the parks, anywhere from like a 3 to 5, maybe $8 million worth of capex driven to that park, depending on the attendance every year, how much money it actually they're processing, if they're breaking even or if they're losing money. Doesn't seem like the parks that are on hand are losing money. It's just that their attendance numbers are breaking them even or making minimal profit, so they're not, going to focus as hardcore like they would Six Flags Over Georgia, for instance, or Carowinds or King's Dominion, things of that nature. They did make that comment, so it sounds of the nature that we're going to see a lot of shift go on still. Uh, doesn't seem like any other parts are going to get sold off. Now there's land in Virginia that they're in the process of, it sounds like, selling. I'm assuming that's that big excess of King's Dominion land that they don't necessarily need, because I believe whenever I looked at it, if I can recall off the top of my head, they have about 200 acres worth that they can just shed and still have about 100 acres left to expand on King's Dominion. So, if not even more than that, good business plan, strategic to get more money on hand, to even speed up paying off debt, plus speed up upgrades to these parks in their top 15 that brings them majority of the money for Six Flags. Uh, also a thing that they had said during the investor relations call was 12 to 13% of the net revenue will be going back into the park's infrastructure, new rides, guest experience, like the improved Wi-Fi and the new app that's happening this year and next year. The Wi-Fi in the parks is happening during the end of this season. It sounded like to the off season and even in the beginning of 2026 season. Then in July we're getting a new app, and it sounded like, if I remember right, there may be a new website coming also in July. But the real hard emphasizing was to recapture 10 million lost guests or visits by 2028, being on a very good financial standpoint, and just giving the top 15 parks the money that they need to succeed, and touching area by area of each park in that top 15 to give it something new, give it a good renovation, to keep the upkeep what they expect. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not going to do the same thing with the top 20, 25 in the back parks that they have, but these top 15 parks is where they had hounded on being their best point of growth, the best part that they can see growing as a company. So those other 25 parks are just, they'll get touched area by area, but it's not going to be extensive in depth, is what it sounds like. So just to add on, uh, I feel like some of the parks that we're going to see just, continue to be upgraded and that's in this top 15 is, of course, you got Carowinds, Six Flags Over Georgia, Six Flags Great America, uh, King's Dominion, Six Flags Mexico. I feel like that's in there. Six Flags Over Texas and Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I just feel like that there's a lot there. Discovery Kingdom, California's Great America is getting shut down, we know of, which is sad to see, but everything is gonna happen because you got Discovery Kingdom so far away that's not really that far, but to some people it could be if you don't live next to it, like California's Great America is. But the distance that is, you don't need that park anymore. But it's just gonna be a very interesting time to the end of this year, 2025, of the park season, because some of the parks just are now opening. The water parks are just now opening, to see how much amount of the guests come back. And then, like we was on earlier, the screen about the compelling capex, telling about the rides that's coming to these parks. And I believe all these parks on the screen: Cedar Point, Great America, Wonderland, Carowinds, King's Dominion, Six Flags New England, Kings Island, Great Adventure, Magic Mountain, Over Texas, Over Georgia, is in that top 15. Go ahead and add Mexico to it, and a couple others, and that's your top 15 parks that they're talking about. So it's just going to be interesting to see, because I feel like going into 26, we'll find out more on these top 15 parks that they're mentioning, because that's where your biggest asset upgrades are going to come to. And a lot of the Six Flags America rides that they will relocate, that's probably going to be flat rides. Maybe even a coaster or two, which would be the Wild Mouse coaster. Are going to go to these top 15 parks, because they're going to want to push more Legacy 6 parks, getting more family attractions. That's the easier way to do it. Take some of the family attractions that wouldn't overlap in Over Georgia from, and put them in Over Georgia, not, from Six Flags America. I'm sorry about getting tongue twisted there, guys. But I believe we're going to see a lot of that happen. And we're not only going to see relocations of those rides from Six Flags America, you're going to see brand new family attractions go into the Legacy 6 parks, and just brand new coasters, but family friendly coasters. Maybe coasters that don't invert, Six Flags Over Georgia, my home park again. The We need another family friendly coaster there. That Wild Mouse coaster from Six Flags America, that would do it. I mean, there's a lot of things that we don't know that's going to happen. We can guess and hope, but Six Flags seems to have a pretty good plan here, it sounded like. And now we just sit back, do our part, go visit our home parks, and go visit parks across the country and, you know, support Six Flags if we choose to. And we just hope to see the plan work out, because the quicker this plan works out, the more money the parks get put back into it, the more money that the upgrades flow through, the quicker they flow through, the better the park looks, all of it. It's just going to be an exciting time being a Six Flags enthusiast, Six Flags guest, and hoping that the Six Flags management can, you know, do what they're saying. Because, like I said, it sounds like a great plan. We just got to see it executed. And it's 2025 now, and 3 years, they'll either be eating the words or they'll be standing on stage again telling us they told us so, that they could do it. And, we just have to have belief, and hopefully we can see them recapture 10 million visits that went away from 2019 by 2028 and see all these parks succeed. I believe all of these parks can succeed, even the 25 that's not in the top 15 that they consider, you know. So over time, I feel like they'll shift. If they can reach these goals, the more money that they can bring in, they'll shift more money to those back 25 parks to try to recapture even more guests around those parks. But we'll see. And thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Six Flags Now or Never. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you love this video and want to interact, I welcome all comments. And if you have any, ideas about what you want them to see, what you want them to do at your park, comment it and let's talk about it. Sorry guys that I got tongue twisted at the very end there. And again, my name is Jamie, and you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.